Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today we're going to be doing a tier list rating all of the Lies of P bosses from easiest to hardest. I think Lies of P is arguably one of the best Souls-like games that we've ever gotten. I've been so captivated by this game, it's just so hard to actually put Lies of P down because of how special the world that NeoWiz / Round 8 has actually created. But let's be honest, the most enjoyable part of any Souls-like or any FromSoft-like game is got to be the bosses. Arguably it has to be the bosses. I mean, there's probably a lot of other deciding factors in there too, but I feel like the bosses and the combat is the #1 thing people look at when they are looking at a Souls-like experience, or even anything that FromSoft released, that people are probably the most excited to see the weapons, the combat, and also the bosses. Because if the bosses are boring and repetitive, the game is also boring and repetitive. So I thought, since I've beaten the game twice already, I thought it's about time I put my 2 bobs worth into the equation and let you guys personally know what I think is the easiest to the hardest boss in Lies of P. Now, full disclaimer, this is my personal opinion. I know my opinion might be very different to the next person, but I thought I would just get that out of the way now before I get absolutely blasted in the comments by people saying that they have different opinions on what boss is the hardest and easiest. I know this is just my opinion on my first playthrough, on who I struggled with the most and who I didn't struggle with. I have obviously got S rank. S rank is going to obviously be the hardest. And instead of F, I have gone with E because E stands for easy. So yeah, any bosses that do go down in the E section are going to be labeled as easy in this game. Not that there's many, but there is a few that I would probably put on the easy side of things. Now, first up, we do have the Parade Master. This is the first boss you experience within literally an hour of you playing the game. You've just worked out how to get into your inventory screen and actually change your weapon, and then the game throws this guy at you. Now, because I did play the demo, this guy wasn't too bad the second time around. I still, probably died 3 or 4 times before I remembered how to do him, but I feel like he's not going to keep you there for eternity. You will eventually get through the Parade Master pretty quickly. I feel like this guy is going to be a B. He's not overly difficult, and he's not overly too easy either. He's just a really good first challenge when you get into the game. The next boss is the Mad Donkey. Now, the Mad Donkey is the first human NPC you do fight in Lies of P, and he is pretty easy. As soon as you realize that you can just backstab the human NPCs over and over and over again, all you have to do is wait for those openings, just go and get a backstab. It's just that simple. I thought he was quite a fun fight. He's not difficult by any means necessary, so I'm probably going to put him in the C category, but he is still a fun fight, the Mad Donkey. Now, next up, we have the Scrap Watchman. Now, the Scrap Watchman is another little difficulty spike that you do go through the game. He does throw a few interesting moves at you that you haven't seen before, especially like Status Element in his second phase. He does start putting lightning everywhere. I thought this was a really cool fight. I didn't think it was too difficult. It wasn't too hard to master the perfect guards or the dodging on this guy once you got it down. I feel like this guy sits at probably like a B difficulty. I thought the second phase was really interesting with the lightning, where every time he does an attack, he leaves a lightning patch on the ground and lightning strikes down. Really just keeps you on your toes. It wasn't a super difficult boss fight, but it is a really interesting one, so I am still going to keep it at the B tier. Now, next up, we have the Survivor. You get to the Survivor when you get to the Venigni work. I had no drama with Survivor whatsoever. I was the Survivor in this engagement. Like I said, once I learned I could do fatal attacks to the human NPCs, like with Mad Donkey, Survivor was just a little bit easy. I feel like a lot of the human NPCs are really easy in this game once you know that. So I am going to put Survivor at C. He isn't really that difficult. The main hardest part of the fight is probably the room that he's in. Now, next up, you can fight them in Venigni Works, and these guys also appear in the Barren Swamps as well, and that is the Puppets of the Future. These things are easy as hell, man. Like, if you die to the Puppet of the Future, that's on you. That really is on you. The guy moves that friggin' slow and literally has, I think, like 2 or 3 attacks that he can do. Not a very defined boss. I think it's just meant to be an easy one. So I'm going to be putting the Puppets of the Future into the easy. Like I said, it doesn't really have a massive move set. There's no crazy things that are going to catch you off guard. He's slow. He slams the ground. Just get out of the way. Keep hitting his feet. Happy days. Next up, Fuuko, King's Flame Fuuko, or however you say that name. I went through the ringer on Fuuko. I feel like he is a decent challenge. It is rewarding to get the perfect guards down on all these big pancake slamming hammer moves. I think I'm going to put Fuuko probably A. I both times on my New Game Plus run and my New Game run, I've had trouble with Fuko. So he's definitely got to go A for me. He is definitely a pain in my ass. So next up, we have the Archbishop fight. Now, personally for me, I didn't find Archbishop too bad. I thought it was a really, really sick fight, especially when you first experience that cinematic cutscene for the first time. This is arguably the first main difficulty spike in the game, the first main roadblock that people walk into. I definitely went through a couple attempts on Archbishop. I wasn't crispy clean on this one. Felt really annoying to learn, but once I got there, it was super satisfying. I do feel like Archbishop does deserve an A tier. He can still put a lot of pressure on you. He still can be quite a difficult fighter if you aren't paying attention. But once you do learn the fight, it's very rewarding to get it down. All right, next up, we do have the Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight. This is the first one where you do actually take down Big Bro for the first time. You can just go and smoke this guy straight away, but once you realize that you can just health gate him a little bit, he'll then summon in one of the NPCs. You kill the NPC, you health gate him a little bit more, summons in another NPC, and you kind of just repeat that process until you actually eventually win the fight. Well, that's how I did it. You can go in there and you can just absolutely bulldoze the main guy where you have NPCs everywhere. But I thought that was just a chill, easiest way to do it. Now, where would I put this on the tier list though? I feel like it's a good difficulty spike. It's nothing crazy. Like, I think Fuko and Archbishop are way harder than the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. I feel like this deserves a B, but I feel like it needs to go at the start of B. It's definitely harder than these guys. But it's not harder than these guys for me personally. Now, next up, we have the White Lady. Now, the White Lady is a really cool fight. It's not a hard fight by any means necessary. It's a really enjoyable fight to do. And the main reason it's enjoyable for me is the setting, the music. It completely passes my vibe check. I absolutely loved it. But it is a really, really easy fight. Unfortunately, White Lady doesn't really bring anything to the table that's going to like throw you off too much. Again, human NPC, walk around the back, get fatal attacks all day, every day. Can't say the same for her clown counterpart though, that's in the exact same friggin' area. This guy's a piece of shit, man. Oh, I friggin' hate the clown guy. Once I got him down on, I think it took me New Game Plus. Really, really cool move design. I really, really like the patterns on this guy, but he's a hard son of a bitch for me personally. I really didn't like fighting these guys. They were a friggin' pain in my ass, and they always sent me back to the Stargazer a couple of times. So I think the Mad Clown definitely deserved a spot in the A tier. Now, moving on over to the King of Puppets fight. This is one of my favorite fights in the whole entire game. It is really, really cool. So we do have the first phase of King of Puppets. This guy, the big robotic guy, he is more annoying than anything. He always pushes you back with his big sucker arms, and it just feels like it delays the fight just even longer, and you can't get in there and do as much damage. He's not really that difficult. Once you work out that you can stand under his feet and dodge most of his attack. First phase of King of Puppets, it does kind of become a joke, and now that they've nerfed his HP even more, it's even more of a joke. You can just whiz through that first phase really quickly. But so I feel like King of Puppets has to go in a B. I feel like now with the HP nerf, he's nowhere near as hard as what he was. And even then, once you figure out the fight, he's not really that difficult. Now, next up, we have Romeo, King of Puppets. Now, this guy's no freaking joke. This guy's no joke. I still suck on trying to dodge his flame phase. Sometimes I don't always get it right. But this guy is got to be one of my favorite fights in the whole entire game. It's the right... I feel like it's just the right dash of difficulty mixed with the right dash of aesthetic, with the arena, the music, everything. It's just so cool, and even all of his moves are just really, really cool. They're fucking punishing, but they are cool. They're really cool, and I feel like Romeo does deserve a spot in S tier. Really, really cool fight. I really enjoy doing it the second time, even though it's super depressing when you go through on New Game Plus and you have the decoder and you can work out what all the puppets say. It's super depressing, but besides that, it is still a really, really cool fight. Next up, we have the Atone fight. I feel like a lot of people would have missed this fight. It's the lady that you talk to let you go up the tram car before you fight the carcass guys. If you do go back to her, I don't know when, but if you do go back, she will then just start fighting you. So that is the Atone fight. This again is another human NPC. It's not a hard fight. It is a little bit cooler because she's using exploding pickaxe. I feel like that's got a really cool moveset. But overall, again, human NPCs, none of them are really difficult. I think they've just put into the game to not be so difficult. I feel like the Atone sits well in the C category. Although I do feel like the Atone is really cool because you do get the dog mask. I feel like it's like one of the coolest masks in the game. Next up, we have Victor, aka I'm Natty Bro, trust me. Yeah, he's totally not juiced up to the teeth. Victor is a cool fight. I actually thought it was really cool that he's just hand-to-hand combat. He's just throwing hands at you. His delayed attacks can be really hard to try and get a hold of, but once you realize that you can just dash to the left or right and you pretty much get out of any of his attacks and you kind of get stuck in animation, it's not a hard fight by any means necessary. The first half of the fight is probably way harder than the second half, just my personal opinion. I kind of still struggled with the first phase, but second phase he's just too slow. He's too juiced up, he can't handle the power, and he's just too slow. I feel like Victor is probably going to have to sit around the B category. I don't think he's an A. I don't think he's as hard and annoying as these guys. I felt like he was a nice difficulty, he's a nice pace, he's really easy to deal with. Next up we have the Owl Doctor. Now the Owl Doctor, you meet him in the Barren Swamp. He isn't happy that you're alive, and no patient should be alive. Interesting thinking for a doctor, but again, human NPC. He's a bit of a cooler fight. I like that he was dual wielding two swords, the big saw blade and like a little dagger or something. He throws that at you. I thought that was a little cooler, but they're not really that hard. I would like to put him in a B tier for just being cooler, because he's just cool, but in terms of difficulty, he's still like a C. In fact, I'll put him right at the start for the cool factor. Next up, we have the Green Swamp Monster. Now, Green Swamp Monster has two phases, obviously. There they are, split up in two phases. This son of a bitch is so annoying. I hate bosses that hit you and backpedal backwards. No, mate. We're in a fight here. You come to me. We're 1v1. Let's 1v1. Let's go toe to toe, brother. What's this runaway pussy ass shit? I feel like this deserves an A. I feel like Green Swamp Monster definitely is a difficult fight, but once you learn it, once you get the perfect guards down, once you figure out where you can dodge and the boss kind of gets stuck in animation, the fight does get a little bit easier. But there's a lot of things that the Green Swamp Monster can throw at you that can still put you on a lot of pressure. You can just get decayed while you're not really paying enough attention. Maybe you miss a perfect guard, or you miss a guard in general. You just get decayed, and that can just completely throw the fight out. You completely lose all your mojo. But then you get into phase 2. I remember when I first did this fight, I was like, there's no way this motherfucker is going into phase 2. This bitch was so hard. I do not want to see a phase 2 right now. And yeah, phase 2, there he is. He's coming back better and stronger than ever. And he's got some shiny metal armor now. So the Devouring Green Swamp Monster is really difficult. He's very pressuring. He's very aggressive. I feel like if you try healing at the wrong time, he can just absolutely punish you for it. This guy's no joke, and the fact that you have to deal with Green Swamp Monster and then this guy after is very exhausting, and sometimes even if you're just not prepared for it, you can just have a horrible time at this boss fight, even if you've gone through the game multiple times. I definitely had a much easier time doing him the second time, but he was still an absolute pain in my ass. I did kind of go through the ringer on this guy in my first playthrough. I really do feel like the Devouring Green Swamp guy deserves S tier. He is no joke. Moving on to Robber I can't remember this guy's name. Moving on to the robber guy, the robber lady, the cat with the fire axe. This is a bit of a cooler fight. I feel like this is a little bit more challenging than some of the other human fights, because of how pressuring she is. She's very aggressive. It kind of has like these delayed quick attacks that can like really throw you off. It can be kind of annoying to deal with. This one deserves a B. I really feel like the cat lady does deserve a B. I'm blanking on her name. I do apologize. I definitely feel like it's a bit of an insult putting into C, considering that I actually died to this lady a couple of times, whereas I didn't die to any of these guys at all. So next up we have Walker of Illusions. Now when you first see this fight, you think nothing of it. You're just like, oh yeah, I've seen these kind of guys walking around. This shouldn't be too bad to deal with. No. Walker of Illusions is definitely a reality check. You need to give this boss respect. If you do not give this boss respect, she will fucking punish you. Walker of Illusions, again, another aggressive boss, but I really feel like once you get this boss down with all the perfect guards, it's super satisfying to do. Does that make it any easier? Hell friggin' no. So I feel like Walker of Illusions definitely deserves the spot in A tier. Has that Shadow Clone move. When you get a groggy, she runs away and does the Disruption Scream. There's a lot of things that throw you off, and it can be annoying to try and get a handle on this boss. So I do think that Walker of Illusion does deserve an A tier. Now next up we have the Corrupted Parade Master. Now this guy is a repeat of the Parade Master you do fight at the very start of the game, but he is a lot different. I do like this. There was one of my gripes with Elden Ring is it does have a lot of bosses, but some of them bosses are repeats and they're not really that much different. They just have like a different element, but like the same kind of moves. With the Corrupted Parade Master, he does kind of carry the same kind of moves just to give you some familiarity, but he does have a lot of different combos to now keep you on your toes. So I feel like the Corrupted Parade Master does deserve to go back in the B. I'm going to put him next to the other guy. He is a good challenge, but when you do get to, you know, closer to the end of the game, you do have a lot more in your toolkit, and I feel like that just makes the fight a little more bearable. And it's not not really that hard once you get it down. So next up, we do have the second Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight. Now this fight is super annoying. It's very cool, but very friggin' annoying. It's just like the other Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight, except you have to fight all of them at once. You have to fight all 3 of them, and then you got Big Bro waiting in the casket to pop out when you only have 1 of the brothers left. This fight can be really hard or it can be really annoying. You can just go and try and fatal attack all of them, but they are constantly throwing stuff at you to just CC you, just kind of like knock you out of your attacks and just make the whole experience just that more fucking annoying. I feel like this deserves A tier. It is definitely a challenging fight, but once you do get it down, it's nothing too crazy. Now next up we have Door Guardian. Now Door Guardian is a little bit of a gimmick fight. You kind of just like keep whacking his sore leg, kind of like Fire Giant in Elden Ring, and he drops down and you do massive amounts of damage on him. He does have an insanely large health bar, but he is a gimmick fight. You need to drop him down, and then when you get that big fatal on him, you do like a crazy amount of damage. But the one annoying thing about him that I feel like is going to put a lot of people under pressure is his shock mechanic. And I'm not talking about the electricity where you get shocked. No, it's when you get hit by a big friggin' hit and it just knocks you into next week. That shock status effect, and that shock status doesn't need to build up. As soon as you get hit with it, you have it. You just got to wait for it to go down. Annoying with my Motivity build. I didn't go through the ringer too much, but I was definitely like getting super frustrated at just the mechanics of this boss. That was really frustrating. I am going to put the Door Guardian B. That might be a controversial one. I'm not really sure. I feel like he's on the line. He really is. He can be super annoying, and he can be hard if you're not really like focusing or managing that shock status properly. But if you are good at managing that, you are good at dodging, you are good at perfect guarding, I probably feel like he's probably about a B tier. Next up we have Black Cat. Black Cat is another human NPC. I thought he was probably one of the easiest human NPC, maybe because he's fucking blind. So I am actually going to put Black Cat down in E. I thought he was really easy. He gave me no trouble whatsoever. I think he might have only hit me once in our whole fight that we had together the first time. So yeah, I think E fits Black Cat very well. Now next up we do have Laxia. Now Laxia put me through the ringer. Oh baby. And the worst part was the Stargaze was literally right next to the boss room. So you just respawn there, run back in. Die, come back out, go back in. Die, come back out, go back in. So you can really rack up a lot of tries on Laxia without even trying. It definitely took me a while to beat Laxia. That second phase was something else. But man, it's such a cool fight. It's really difficult, but it's really enjoyable to actually do the Laxia fight. I was getting my ass handed to me on a silver platter, and I was going back in with a smile on my face. And I feel like Laxia really does deserve a spot in that S tier. Now next up, we do have the Red Fox. Now the Red Fox, again, like all the other human NPCs, aren't really that much to deal with. I thought Red Fox was a little bit cooler, but on the difficulty scaling, I don't think she deserves a spot in B. I am going to put the Red Fox over in C. Again, like the other human NPCs, they're just not really that difficult. I did definitely design that way. Not to say that they're bad fights or anything. I feel like a lot of these fights are really cool. They're just not difficult. All right, 2 bosses left, and arguably 2 of the coolest bosses in the game. We do have the Simon Manus fight. I don't know why they didn't split this up into 2 phases. I feel like his first phase gave me more trouble than his second phase. That's vice versa for a lot of people. I probably still went 20 plus attempts on Manus. He definitely was a difficult fight to learn that. Like I said, that first phase was just kicking my ass way more than second phase. I do not know why. I just couldn't get him down. I feel like it's going to be an absolute insult not to put him in S tier. And the boss is also really cool and difficult at the same time. So I feel like Simon Manus deserves a spot in the S tier category. Now last but not least, we have the Nameless Puppet. Now you only get to fight the Nameless Puppet if you refuse to give your heart to Geppetto. Nameless Puppet, arguably one of the coolest fights in the game. Has to be up there with Laxia and Romeo as being the best fights in Lies of P. And again, the Stargaze is right next to the boss room, so when you die, you come back out, you just go back in, and you kind of lose track of how many attempts you're actually doing. The Nameless Puppet, he definitely put me through a little bit of the ringer. It took me a little while to actually figure out phase 2. I just couldn't seem to get my perfect guards correct. I just kept fucking it up, and he kept punishing me for it. So once I did figure that out, finally did beat Nameless Puppet. Again, I feel like this guy is a friggin' insult to not put at S tier. It's such a cool fight. The cinematic for it is really, really epic, really anime style. And it's overall a really nice way to wrap up the whole experience of Lies of P. And there you go, guys. That is my Lies of P easiest to hardest boss tier list. We got the easiest bosses down here all the way up to the S tier, which are the hardest and arguably some of the coolest bosses in the entire game. I'm really keen to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Is my list kind of like your list? Do you have something different? And what was the boss that gave you guys the most amount of trouble inside of Lies of P? Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.